pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay, we'll take a moment for silent reflection. Thank you. Okay, we'll move on to item C, approval of the agenda. With the following amendments, I'll look them up, I'll just read them right here. Additional certified and classified personnel actions E3, remove item F7, new business. Board of Education is asked to consider and approve the purchase and subscription services agreement between Raptor Technologies and Garden City Public Schools for employee safe suite renewal in the amount of $41,433 for a one-year contract. And then item C3, add item I1, executive for consultation with an attorney for the body or agency which would be deemed privilege in an attorney-client privilege.
Mr. President, I move to approve tonight's agenda as amended.
I second that.
Been moved and seconded. Is there any discussion? All in favor, raise your hand. Opposed, same sign. Motion carries. Item D, delegation of public comments. Nope. All right. Seeing none. Okay, item D1, election of Board of Education President and Vice President. I declare that nominations for the office of the Board of Education Presidents are in order. Any board members wish to make a motion?
Mr. President, I move that we elect Randy Rolston to stay in the position of president for the next year.
I'll second.
It's been moved and seconded. We have to close it first, right?
This is just time for nominations and then we'll do the vote after you
Yes,
close
yeah.
nominations.
Right. Is there any other discussion? I will close that motion. Okay, the board will vote on nominations now, right?
Yep.
All right, all in favor, raise your hand. Opposed, same. Motion carries. I will remain as the president. Okay, now we will move on to the election of the board vice president. I declare that nominations for the office of the Board of Education Vice President are in order.
I move to nominate Mark Hind.
I'll second.
It's been moved and seconded. I will now close that nomination. Any discussion? Okay, we will vote on Mark Hine. All in favor, raise your hand. Opposed, same. Motion carries.
The president stayed the same, so there'll be no changes, but Mark, you officially take the role as of right now as vice president. Just so you know.
I mean, you switch seats?
Yeah, probably should. Either that or-
Picture of the two
Yeah.
together as well
Yeah, let's,
for our newsletter that goes out, board update.
you want all the board, don't you worry.
Well, Tom's not here, so I'll just get, can we just do it right in front of the sign here? Ready? 1, 2, 3. One more, 1, 2, 3. And for the press too. She's got a Zoom.
Get up.
To the troublemakers.
Troublemakers. Oh, yeah, there we go.
Mhm.
All right, get away with acting like you.
Okay, we will move on to item E, the consent agenda.
I move to approve all consent agenda items as submitted.
Second,
I'll second that.
any discussion? All in favor, raise your hand. Opposed, same, motion carries. That was a lot. Took me like 3 days to read them. Okay, item F, new business. F1, the Board of Education is asked to consider and approve the cardiac emergency response plan. Michelle Scholl, Health Services Coordinator.
Good evening, everybody. We all have this plan in your agenda, so I'm not gonna read the whole thing, but the legislature states that the Board of Education of each Kansas school district shall adopt a comprehensive cardiac emergency response plan for cardiac emergency responses for each attendance center operated by the school district. KDHE is requesting the school district submit their plan by July 31st this year. So this is the plan that we would submit if you approve it. And then they'll let us know if it has everything in it that they expect. I'm just gonna kind of outline some of the things that are supposed to be required in this plan. First of all, the response plan is a written document that establishes the specific steps to reduce the death from cardiac arrest. That's really what we're trying to do here. The first step is that we have to establish our response team with a designated lead. So each school will have to have a response team of between 3 to 5 people. It depends on the size of the school. At the high school, we're going to have more than that. We may do it by academy. We'll have to kind of talk that through with them to see what's going to work best for that big of a building. We have to delineate the roles and responsibilities of each person on the team. And we have to have, I think I already said the designated leads. We have to have somebody, and for most of the schools, it'll be the school nurse. We don't have school nurses full-time in all of our buildings, so we really are gonna have to have somebody else as a backup. In some of the schools where there may not be a nurse in the event something like this happens. Then we need to obtain and place AEDs, which we've already done. So last year, DESC was able through grants to get AEDs in all of our buildings. So we have to have an AED in our building that we can reach within 3 minutes. So at the high school right now, we have 3 AEDs, and we just purchased 2 more AEDs that are portable AEDs that can go with coaches. So out on the field, I know that the trainer always has one that she takes, but there's some events or some practices where the trainer's not there. We also purchased one for each of the middle schools, so they'll have one that they can take with them in the field. So we have that part covered. We have AEDs in all of our buildings, including this building. So, and plant facilities and transportation. Communication of this plan throughout the school district, as well as organizations using school property. So anybody who's going to be using the school property needs to have a copy of this plan. Training in CPR and AED use. We have 3 nurses that are certified. I'm one of them that is a CPR trainer. So anybody that's on this response team has to be CPR certified. So that's something that we can do, free of charge for them. Also along that line, and even last year, before we even had written it in a plan, we offered CPR training to our staff free. So we had about 4 trainings each semester, that up to 15 people. So we'll try to increase that if we can and get as many people as we can.
Was it well attended? I mean,
Well, it depended. It kind of depended. We'd have 15 people sign up. We didn't always have 15 people show up.
right, yeah.
But I just had a call today from transportation, and they want us to do CPR training for their bus drivers, either the new ones or the ones that need to be recertified. So we scheduled the day for that early August. So So we'll work on really trying to get, I mean, the ideal would be to get all of our staff trained in CPR. But with 3 people, that makes it a little more difficult to do. But everybody that's on the team has to be CPR certified. And then the AED use, that's something that we do. Everybody gets that training in our public school work. So now it's one of the trainings that everybody gets. Along that way, the nurses also do a hands-on at the beginning of school with staff. So our AEDs are all the same across the board. So if you went from one school to the other, it's the same. They all work the same. So we do a training with everybody just to say, this is how you use it. This is what it looks like. This is, what it sounds like if you turn it on, that kind of thing. But, sometimes there's groups of people, like sometimes the custodians, the cooks, they don't always attend. So, in order to get them training, we are doing it through public school work, so everybody. It may not be showing you exactly the same AD that we have, but really across the line, they all work the same. They're pretty easy. They really do. Once you turn them on, they tell you what you need to do. If you just listen to the next step, it'll tell you what you need. And then we do need to do a cardiac emergency response drill. We need to do one of those a year, and then we evaluate that drill. The ideal drill would be to have everybody respond, the AED there, and within 5 minutes of the drill being called. So, and then of course, local emergency medical services integration within the school district plan. So they, fire, EMS, police department will all get copies of our plans. Currently, as we register every AED, we're required by the state to submit something to our local EMS, so they all know where our AEDs are located. So they know if they would come into a building, they would know where our AEDs are. And then, of course, annually, you will need to review the plan, see whether the plan needs to be updated. We need to, adapt or change. Is there any questions?
I don't so much have a question, just more of a, I know you're doing a good job and I know it's a daunting task, but yeah, I think the more people we can get trained and that is best. So yes, keep that up. Good work.
Has there been very many instances where there has been an actual event?
But it's kind of one of those things where you hope you never have to.
Oh, right, exactly.
Yeah, but if you do, you have it available to use.
No, I think that's a great
I
idea.
think the only time we've ever used an AED was at the high school, and we had a parent that passed out. And the nurses put the AED on, it didn't shock it, because it won't shock you if it recognizes that you have a normal sinus rhythm. And so it didn't shock the person, but it did allow them to know, well, at least that it wasn't cardiac, at least at that moment with that person. But it does happen in schools and outside of schools and football game, that kind of thing where you have big crowds. So. Any other questions? Oh, thank you. All right.
Make a motion to approve the cardiac emergency response plan as presented.
I'll second.
It's been moved and seconded. Is there any further discussion? All in favor, raise your hand. Opposed, same. Motion carries. Item F2, the Board of Education is asked to consider and approve contract with the new teacher project, TNTP, work with 2 buildings on targeted support for improvement, Bernadine Sitz Intermediate Center and A.B. Hubert Elementary. Dina Galpin, Director of Special Education.
Good evening.
Hi.
KSDE provides grant opportunities for schools who are on improvement. We have 2 buildings, we have 3 buildings on improvement, but 2 of them are specifically on improvement for special education students and their state assessment scores. And so we've been working on increasing the student achievement for special education students across the district, but specifically in those 2 buildings. With KSDE and the grant, I met with the principals of those buildings to brainstorm, and we had a list of acceptable things that we could spend grant money on, and they chose to apply for the grant to work with TNTP, which we worked with in the past, to come into those buildings next school year, work with them during PLCs, conduct observations. They're going to look at their special education programs, what's happening in the tier 1 classroom when the students are receiving reading and math instruction. How can teachers effectively support special education students in that setting? And then pulling kids out into a resource setting and what those programs look like, what materials we're using, and just making sure that we're using evidence-based practices in those programs to try to increase the student achievement, specifically culminating on that state assessment. So the contract is for about $239,000. Each building was about $120,000 for the consultant to come in 6 times next school year. She'll provide professional development, both to teachers and the administration in those buildings, as well as our special education coordinators and myself. And then working with teachers and PLCs, walkthroughs, providing feedback and support, looking at our materials, and whether they want to they'll make recommendations on whether we want to look at purchasing different materials that might be more effective in some of our special education programs. This will be fully funded through the grant. We've already been accepted for the full amount. It is on a reimbursement basis. So as we pay the new teacher project, we'll get reimbursed with our grant. Any questions?
Okay, thank you.
President, we move to approve the contract with the new teacher project to work with the 2 buildings and target support for improvement, Bernadine Sits Intermediate Center and A. Huber Elementary as presented.
I'll second.
Okay, it's been moved and seconded to approve the TNTP work at Bernadine Sits and Abe Huber. Is there any further discussion? All in favor, raise your hand. Opposed, same. Motion carries. Item F3, Gina's back again. Board of Education is asked to consider and approve the updated memorandum of understanding agreement between USD 457 and Compass Behavioral Health.
This MOU allows Compass staff to come into our district buildings to provide services to our students. We also fund a mental health liaison, Kim Fisher, to coordinate services between Compass and our school district. They provide the mindful support program, so therapy services in our schools, in the buildings that participate in that program. And then they also provide case management and attendant care as part of their services for our students who need additional support with social and emotional well-being.
We've done this in
Yes.
the past, right?
Yes.
And I would say that this MOU is a requirement of the grant, so Gina will have to submit this to KSDE.
Yeah,
Or not
KJEDS,
KSDE anymore.
the Kansas Department of Aging and Disabilities, provides the grant that funds this program. And so we have to have an MOU with Compass in order to be eligible for the grant.
And Jennifer's looked the agreement over and is fine with it.
It's the same agreement that
It's
we
the
had,
same
but
agreement.
I think, did you send it to her? I think I sent it. Jessica sent it to her. I knew somebody had, I hadn't sent it, but I know somebody sent it to her.
Okay.
Yes. That's right, Jessica did it. Yep.
Any other questions?
I would move that we approve the memorandum of understanding between USD 457 and Compass Behavior as presented.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded. Is there any further discussion? All those in favor, raise your hand. Opposed, same. Motion carries. Okay, item F4, the Board of Education is asked to consider and approve the updated memorandum of understanding between the Finney County Jail and USD 457 for special education services will be provided to 18 to 21-year-olds housed at the Finney County Jail. Gina?
All right. We are obligated by law to provide services to any 18 to 21-year-olds who are housed at the Finney County Jail. And so we have an MOU with them. They have added questions to their intake forms asking if the incoming people, what are they called?
Inmates.
Inmates are in special education or are on an IEP. And if they are, then they, in the MOU, it explains that they will contact me directly and we'll make arrangements to start providing those services within the jail as long as they are.
We've never had that happen since this is, I think the year that I left Fed office was the year that we had to draft this MOU, and we've never had that happen to date, but in the event that it does happen, legally, we have to provide those services.
Going into our third year.
So would this be for someone who's 18 to 21 who's not yet graduated and still enrolled as a student in our district?
Yeah. And on an IEP.
And on an IEP?
Yes, sir.
Yes. We're brought in from other areas that
Yeah.
housed in our jail.
Yeah, because they could be like a Finney County, or they could be a Holcomb resident, but because they're
If they're housed at Finney County Jail.
same thing as our
Not
JDC,
necessarily all
Not
of
just-
our students.
right?
Right.
Okay.
Same thing with our JDC. We get a lot of kids. The majority of the kids that we service at the JDC are not actually Garden City kids. A lot of them are coming from all of Southwest Kansas because we're the only juvenile detention center for the area.
Mr. President, I move to approve the memorandum of understanding between the Finney County Jail and USD 457 for special education services that will be provided to 18 to 21-year-olds housed at the Finney County Jail as presented.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded. Any further discussion? All in favor, raise your hand. Opposed, same. Motion carries. Last one. Gina's off the hook, I think. F5, the Board of Education is asked to consider and approve the Certified Physical Therapist Services Agreement between USD 457 and Jessica King.
We do not have a physical therapist on staff, and so we contract with Jessica, who is a licensed physical therapist. She provides services to students who require physical therapy based on the needs in their special education IEP. So we've contracted with her for several years. We are asking to continue to contract with her to provide those services.
And this was a minimum of 10 hours a week, maximum of 20, is that correct?
Correct.
And she has a PTA that we do have on staff that works under her license, so it works daily.
Mr. President, I'll move to approve the certified physical therapist service agreement between USD 457 and Jessica King as presented.
One second.
It's been moved and seconded. Is there any further discussion? All in favor, raise your hand. Opposed, same. Motion carries. Thank you, Gina.
Thank you.
Item F6, the Board of Education is asked to consider and approve the continuation of Read 180, an existing curriculum resource. The agreement is a one-year contract from July 2025 to July 2026 in the amount of $84,395.77. Director of Elementary Curriculum and Instruction, Heather Steg.
Yep.
Hi.
Read 180 is a program that we've used within the district for quite some time. Primarily, it's used with our ESL and newcomer students, but we do have some special education students that get intervention services using that program. So Read 180 is targeted for kids that are struggling with reading. We use it for newcomers as well because there is a requirement in the newcomers program that they have a survival skills component, and that this curriculum does have that in it. So we're kind of getting a progression set up so that they go through the survival skills in newcomers and then get into the code, which is a foundational reading, phonics, things like that, and then into the comprehension piece after that. But it covers all of those different components. It's for grades 5 through 12, so not really geared for our younger kids.
I noticed the quote is for 185 students, looks like in there.
Correct.
Do we use all those licenses, or if we don't use them?
When I first entered this office, we were overpaying quite a bit. We had a lot more kids. We were paying for a lot more kids than what we're using it. We cut that way back. I think we are much more in line than what we were before. I think we're using almost all of the licenses.
If you were to have a need for greater than what we're buying, would you be able to just go out and
Yeah.
purchase
We can add more. We'd have to come before the board to add it.
blocks, or you just, in other words, 10 or 20, or just one at a time?
No, I think we can order as much as we want. I don't think that our office would want to do it by one student at a time. If
Right.
there was that great of a need, I think we would buy like 10, 20, something like that. But we have certain Read 180 teachers in our intermediate centers at Horace Good and at the high school. So those classes are kind of set up with a cap of how many students can be in there. So 185, we shouldn't need to buy more.
Thank you.
Do we offer any kind of similar program for younger than that, or?
That's more part of the tier 1 curriculum. And then with the loss of our interventionist and the pullout interventions, it's more things that we're doing in the class in small group to address skill deficits.
Okay, anybody have any questions for Heather?
Move to approve the continuation of Read 180 for the Mifflin Harcourt Company. One-year contract from July 2025 to July 2026 in the amount of $84,395.77.
Second that.
Moved and seconded. Is there any further discussion? All in favor, raise your hand. Opposed, same. Motion carries. And they're up again, F7, the Board of Education is asked to consider and approve the one-year contract from July 1, 2025 through June of 2026 for Inspect Plus, DNA, and EduClimber in the amount of $101,640.
So I came before you last month to talk to you about Renaissance products, the Fast Bridge screener that we were time sensitive on and needed to get that, through a little quicker. These are the rest of our Renaissance products. EduClimber is a program that kind of houses all of our data for all of our students. So teachers can go in and look at a specific student and see state assessment results, any common assessments that we've created, Fast Bridge results, attendance, grades, everything about a student in kind of a one-stop. But it also allows us to get in and sort data. So I can go to a teacher, to a grade, to a building and say, I want to track Fast Bridge results from the beginning of the year to the end of the year. And it'll show us graphs of how many students moved up, how many stayed the same, how many dropped. But it allows us to do a lot of sorting of data for grouping and tracking progress. So it's a pretty valuable asset. I mean, it can do some pretty amazing things, actually. So Illuminate would be the DNA, and Inspect Plus, which for like our common assessments and things like that, we put our assessments in that program, and then it grades and communicates with EduClimber to send those results into EduClimber. So those products, both being from Renaissance, they communicate well together. So the test that we give within Illuminate, the results will show up in EduClimber and allows teachers to track data.
Is any of this data available to like parents? Like, do they have a login portal or anything
I think teachers, I think parents could see an Edge Climber. I don't know if we have it set up, but I know that if I was a teacher, I would be pulling that up when I went to parent teacher conferences because it's got everything put together. But that's a great question. I don't think we've been using it that way, but look into it more.
Yeah, I was just thinking, if it's all this great data, I'm sure the parents would want to see that too.
It'd be a learning process because there is so much stuff in there. You definitely have to educate parents so that they could get in there and look, and know what they were looking at. But this is a program that I think they've had for the last, well, all the years that I've been in this office, and I think it was at least a couple of years before that, that they had Illuminate those products. So it's a continuing program as well.
I noticed on the quote, our numbers for 7,000 contact therapy student numbers. With our numbers decreasing, is that still okay or?
At this point, we're going with what our enrollment numbers were at the end of the year. You know, we'll look at that again next year. If our enrollment goes down to 6,500, then yeah, we definitely for next year would want to reduce that. And I think we had reduced it, I think it was 7,200 before.
Okay.
The other thing too that I would say with this one, I think this is the program, whether if I'm wrong, if I'm mistaken, tell me, but if we assign a kiddo to that and then they move away and we have another kiddo that comes in, they can't take that seat. We have to give them another slot. Because if we do, we lose all that kid's data and we don't want that because a lot of our kids leave and then they come back. And so you want to have a little bit of a cushion as our kids move in and out.
Understandable.
How does this 101,000 for 1 year, we've been using this for a long time, is that pricing stay fairly consistent over the years?
Yeah, EduClimber actually, I think we've only been using it for 3 years, so it's a newer product, but Illuminate, I think, yeah, it's been pretty consistent. But I know the quotes from Renaissance have been 100,000. Yeah. When I wrote this memo, it didn't look out of the ordinary from last year. I mean, everything goes up a little bit, but I didn't see anything super alarming.
Any other questions?
Mr. President, I move to approve the one-year contract from July 1, 2025 through June 2026 for Inspect Plus DNA and EduClimber in the amount of $101,640.
I'll second that.
Been moved and seconded. Is there any further discussion? Those in favor, raise your hand. Opposed, the same. Motion carries. Okay, it's the last bit of money you get to spend.
Yeah.
The Board of Education is asked to consider and approve the renewal of Leader in Me for the amount of $119,240.77 for a one-year contract.
And I'm making these progressively larger as we go. So, Leader in Me is our SEL curriculum at some of our K-6 buildings, or actually, we added preschool this year, so it's pre-K through 6. A few of our schools do use Capturing Kids' Hearts, but the majority of our buildings are using Leader in Me for their social emotional learning. I know you guys have had Plymel up here talking about some of their achievements and being recognized as lighthouse schools and getting some awards. So we've seen some real growth in kids and goal setting and, you know, maturing in the way that we want them to do.
So I've had a couple of conversations with some elementary teachers that have like differing ideas on the Capturing Kids' Hearts versus Leader in Me. And so I'm just learning. So help me understand, like some of them are saying like they think some of the younger kids are not equipped or the Leader in Me because it has skills they may or may not have. So not only are we teaching them the Leader in Me, we're teaching them some of the things that they might be learning in capturing kids' hearts to start with. So I've had a couple people present to me that maybe capturing kids' hearts is a better program for like maybe preschoolers through second, third graders. And then Leader in Me is a better program once these kids have these good quality social emotional level skills to then morph those into becoming a good leader. Is that like, have I been misled, or is that, what's your opinion, I guess?
I know there's a debate within the schools in general because we would like everybody to be in the same program, so there's consistency. And it has been brought up multiple times when we've been doing some of our workshops that we need to be consistent and have one program across the elementaries instead of some of them having one thing and others having something different, because when kids move from building to building, it creates confusion. I don't know that I would advocate for it in the way that you're talking about, K2 for one thing and then, 3-6 for something else. Those programs are written to be K-12, really. And they have a scope and sequence that starts at very low level skills. Now, our kids do come without a lot of those low level skills, but the curriculum is set up that we would be teaching them. And, it may be hard for some of our kids who haven't had some of those early skills, but it's what we're doing in classrooms all the time. It's true for reading and math also. So I know we as administrators have had discussions about where do we go with, do we keep 2 curriculums? Do we go to 1? Which one? I don't know that anybody's in a position to make a decision about that, but I do know that either one of those programs, we're seeing good things with, both Capturing Kids' Hearts and Leader in Me. We're seeing real growth with kids. And I think that as we go through this, kids progress through the system, we're hopefully going to see fewer disciplinary actions because kids are going to have better social emotional skills as they get older.
I have grandkids at schools that used both of them. So I've seen, a little bit of pieces here and there of what that looks like.
Yeah. And there's some consistency in, teaching kids what it means to be a responsible citizen. That there are some consistent things between both programs. They're just taught and go about it a little bit differently.
I think one of the things that I would say, like with what Heather said, is a big piece of social emotional curriculum is having a common language that you're using. So they're using the same terms and things like that. And so if you're doing Capturing Kids' Hearts for the beginning and Leader in Me, a lot of that stuff's gonna get jumbled and that's gonna cause some conflicts for kids. So I do think, and that's a struggle I feel like that we see too. If you've got staff members that are going between one building and another, and this is the Capturing Kids' Heart building and this is a Leader in Me building, for staff to be able to pick up that language and stuff for our kindergarten staff, that becomes a little complicated. So it's something that we're gonna have discussions. I need to work with you all to kind of get some direction on what we think we want to do. I have some ideas, but
How long have we been using Leader in Me?
It actually got started around, 21,
2020.
21,
Yeah,
when we had Esser's money.
And then
That's
the
how
Capturing
it
Kids'
started.
Hearts, how long?
same thing.
Same
They
thing.
both got picked up at the same time. Yeah, around 21 or 20 or 21.
And it really started in just a couple schools. And then, they were pretty excited about it and it kind of grew from there. I think Plymell and
Plymell's the first school that started Leader in Me.
then it's just kind of grown because teachers and administrators were hungry for something that was going to teach kids skills that they needed. And with the behaviors we were seeing and then post-COVID, that was a lot worse. We really need the structure of a curriculum, to support kids in learning those social emotional skills.
And is this now a state requirement to have the social
Yeah.
emotional this way done?
And this one is on the approved resources for using at-risk funds.
So is this a 1-year or 2-year contract?
It is a 1 year.
When I look at that sheet that says Leader in Me agreement, it lists out membership. When it says membership start date, membership end date, it has kind of an itemized list of June 30th, 2025 through June 29th, 2026, and then it goes down and talks about 26 to 28. And the total is, it seems like this is a 2-year
For all
agreement.
year, yeah.
Mhm.
Did you speak to them, Josh, when they sent this?
And I'm just,
Okay. Yeah, your start and end dates do.
yeah, and if you add up rough, I mean, just do a quick mental math there, it's
a 2-year.
it's a 2-year agreement, is about $58,000 to $59,000 per section there.
Yeah, we might need to look into that one more. Because we've done historically 1-year contracts on that. Is there a reason why they would have given us a
We did
2?
a 2-year contract with Garfield, I know, because the grant that we got for them.
Guess, could you get clarification on that?
Yep.
And maybe provide us an update and put it on the consent agenda
Yep.
for, you know, after we got some additional info.
That's a good question.
Other question I had, how is capturing kids' hearts paid for?
Same fund.
Same fund, because originally it was grant funded, and
Mhm.
then was there,
They were all ESSER funded to
they
start
were
with.
all ESSER funded at first, okay. So now it's just paid for out of our at-risk budget?
Yeah, at risk for curriculum.
Okay.
Our textbooks, it would either come out of our at-risk funding or our textbooks account, depending on where Bessie feels the most comfortable financially.
All right, thank you.
Thank you.
I agree. I think there's definitely some value in getting the district on the path of one program. I mean, because just like you said, for staff to go to different campuses, for students that move different, it's all different. And I definitely think that's whether we put a working group together or something, you know, whichever one we decide. Obviously, we're gonna hurt somebody's feelings. I mean, someone's not gonna agree, but I do see the value of having one social emotional program for the district over multiple ones.
Yeah.
So, I would agree. Okay. Thank you, Heather. We'll move on to item F9. Board of Education is asked to consider and approve the dual credit cooperative agreement between the Garden City Community College and Unified School District 457, Garden City Public Schools for enrollment of secondary students for the 25-26 school year. Interim Assistant Superintendent Steve Norton.
Yeah, in front of you is the MOU between Garden City Public Schools and Garden City Community College. This is a continuation of our relationship, allowing them to teach community college dual credit courses on our sites. Whether it's direct instruction from a high school adjunct or a faculty member monitoring a lab of students, or in very rare cases, they're teaching night classes, weekend classes, or something else in our buildings. And we haven't had that for quite a while. I think the last time we had something like that was culinary. They did some evening classes in our kitchen at the high school because they didn't have a facility as of yet. So this MOU kind of details those arrangements. So it's as I said, it's a continuation of what we've been doing in the past. It's a great relationship for our kids and our families. Most of our students end up, if that go on to post-secondary, end up at the community college. And this is a great head start for them. And so to have this working relationship and continue that working relationship is, I think, good for everybody involved.
I think it's great. That'd be great. I wish they would have had it back in the ancient ages.
Doing it on our campus is really convenient for kids and families. Some classes, we can't teach at the high school and they've got to go off-site, construction, things like that. But for the most part, it's them being willing to really come into the high school and provide the services where our kids are. I think that's another benefit for everybody.
I would agree. I think it's a very valuable tool for our students, for sure. Any other questions?
Mr. President, I move to approve the dual credit cooperative agreement between Garden City Community College, Unified School District 457, Garden City Public Schools, for enrollment of secondary students for the 2025 through 2026 school year.
It's been moved and seconded. Is there any further discussion? All in favor, raise your hand. Opposed, same. Motion carries. Thank you, Steve. Okay, we'll move on to item F10. Board of Education is asked to consider and approve the intent to exceed the revenue neutral rate for the fiscal year of 2026. Interim Deputy Superintendent Drew Tone.
President Ralston and the board, tonight I bring forward our annual request to the board to approve the intent to exceed the revenue neutral rate for fiscal year 26. As you may recall, the state of Kansas requires school districts to notify the county clerk if they plan to exceed the R&R. That notice must be submitted by July 20th of 2025. Included in that notice, in the notice that you guys have in front of you, is the proposed tax rate for the upcoming fiscal year, as well as the date of required public hearing for the rate. We're proposing to hold the R&R hearing on August 26th, 2025, immediately prior to our board's regularly scheduled meeting. This will be held in conjunction with our annual budget hearing. As required by law, the public notice of a hearing will be published in the Garden City Telegram at least 10 days in advance. By approving this intent to exceed the R&R, it does not lock us into any financial tax rate. It simply gives us legal authority to set the rate higher than the revenue neutral rate, should that be necessary once budgeting is finalized. Like last year, the proposed rate is slightly higher than we anticipate needing, just to give us some flexibility. Again, this is the same approach we used last year. To be clear, there is no financial impact tonight. This is just the first step in the process. Any final decision about the tax rate will come after we adopt the fall budget. With that, I recommend the board approve the notice of intent to exceed the revenue neutral rate for fiscal year 26. We are asking action tonight. Are there any questions? See, I wrote that all down because I can't mess that up or Jessica's gonna have my
But the one thing I would say is it's not August 26th, it's August 28th.
August 28th.
That was the glitch that we had.
So again, we're not increasing, we don't anticipate increasing. It just gives us the ability to increase if we have to. Jessica, when Jessica and I and Josh and Steve talked, we don't anticipate the need to increase. We plan on keeping the mill levy flat, but it does give us that leeway to increase if we have to. But all of that will be set at your guys' budget hearing there on the 28th. So tonight, we just need the authorization to send that to the county clerk, and then we'll come back on the 28th and give you what we project the final mill levy to be, as well as the budget hearing. And we do ask for action tonight.
I'd entertain a motion to authorize Jessica Nodler, CFO, to notify the Finney County Clerk of intent to exceed the revenue neutral rate for the fiscal year 2026, and the proposed mill levy rate shall be no more than 50.0. The date of hearing shall be August 28th at 5 p.m. in the board meeting room of the Educational Support Center here at 1205 Fleming Street, Garden City, Kansas.
Mr. President, I move the Board of Education authorize Jessica Northern, CFO, to notify the Finney County Clerk of intent to exceed the revenue neutral rate for fiscal year 26 with a proposed mill levy rate of no more than 50.0.
I'll second that.
Okay, it's been moved and seconded. Is there any further discussion? All in favor, raise your hand. Opposed, same. Motion carries. Authorizing Jessica Northern to notify the Finney County Clerk. Okay, item F11. Board of Education is asked to consider and approve the following Board of Education policy changes, and these are our first read. Drew, you're up to date.
President Ralston, first I'll ask you guys, would you prefer me go through, all of these and then ask questions at the end, or do you guys want to go through these one by one? One by one work?
Yeah.
Okay, let's go through one by one. BBC, board committees. So what this change to BBC is moving forward, anytime the board directs us to create a committee, that committee falls under open records, under Quora, because of the new state law that requires, anytime a board develop a committee, those meetings be open meetings and open to COMA requests. So all we're doing is we're changing BBC to match House Bill 2134. It's pretty, we had this discussion last year, it's just to match the law. The next one is CN, Public Records. This is a revision. The reason we're doing the revision was, again, House Bill 2134. On this, the only thing that changes, the only reason for this is furnishing public records. This is just the way that we bill for COMA requests, for open records requests, how we can bill for open records requests, and what we will do moving forward. And it's just a change in our billing to match, again, House Bill 2134. Investment of funds, DFE. This is to match House Bill 2152. The purpose behind this is to allow us in smaller communities, to allow banks in smaller communities to be more involved in investing. This allows for a 2% leeway in the investment of funds. So those small community banks that may not be able to be as competitive as bigger city banks can be involved with investing those funds into those local communities. DFH, fundraising activities. This is just a revision to the fundraising activities and how activities funds work. The language just does some clarification. The biggest thing is clarifying on personal business of school employees and them not being able to raise funds at school for their private businesses. And again, if you guys have questions, please don't hesitate to ask. GAE complaints. What this does is, this is for classified employees. This is just aligning our policy really with our practice more than anything, but it is also a KSB recommendation, and it cleans up dramatically our KAE policy. Our KAE policy was very long, wordy policy. This condenses that policy and is in line with actually what we do with the 10 days. Within 10 days of a complaint, they have to file the complaint notice with their supervisor. Supervisor has 10 days to follow up with the complaint. It's our practice. This just follows along with what we're doing. GAACB, employee whistleblower. We have a similar policy. What this has done with House Bill 2160 is it says that policy has to be an independent policy separate from other policies. So this pulls this policy out of a different policy and creates a standalone whistleblower policy that we follow. IB, school site councils, this is a revision on this. Currently, the Board of Education, you guys do not appoint our site councils at our schools. Our principals and administrators appoint those. If you were to appoint those site councils as a Board of Education, those site councils are now open to COMA. They're open to open records, open meetings. We have to keep minutes the same way you guys keep meeting minutes here for the Board of Education. IC educational programs. So what IC educational programs is, we have changed the negotiated agreement with regards to the Professional Development Committee and the Curriculum Council. This change in policy just aligns our board policy with our new negotiated agreement, creating both a Curriculum Council and a Professional Development Council. JBC enrollment. Again, this is to comply with state law. All we did was we added a section regarding military students. The state of Kansas passed Bill 2102. And what that did was it allows people that
are in the military moving into a Kansas school, they don't have to have proof of residency to move into that school. We don't deal with it a whole lot here. Junction City, Leavenworth, Manhattan, Derby with the Air Force Base, they deal with it. We never really deal with it, but if you have somebody transferring in from a different Air Force base, they don't have to have proof of residency to transfer into your district if they're in the military because they haven't established residency yet. So it allows them to go ahead and get their student enrolled and ready to go before they get transferred into that base is what that does. JBCD, enrollment of military students, that corresponds with JBC. It's all tied together into the same policy. JBCDA, in-district transfers. There were a few minor changes to our in-district transfer policy. One was changing the open enrollment for in-district transfers from January to April. Only a few small slight changes that help us align with policy KASB. So it's all just aligning our policies. JGFGB, supervision of medications. This falls in line. We put this in place it's a revision to our current policy, but really it's based around Senate Bill 63. And this has a lot to do with transgender activities for students transitioning. It allows, it prevents our nurses and our employees from handling transition medicine for students that are transitioning due to stigma. KBC, media relations and usage. So House Bill 2134, basically what this does is anytime that we live stream a board meeting or something that we plan on live streaming, we can't live stream only part of it. We have to live stream the whole thing. So tonight, if we're having trouble starting the live stream, we have to wait to get the live stream going and then get started. We can't start part of the way through the live stream. We either broadcast the whole thing or we don't broadcast any of it. And Holcomb, for instance, they just audio theirs as opposed to audio and video. If you're going to audio it, you have to audio the whole thing, not just partial. Board meetings or open meetings that are live streamed or broadcast.
You skipped 11. Supervision of medications.
That was the
Student
student.
activities in.
I mean, student activities. Yeah, that's what I mean.
Oh, JH, student activities.
Yeah.
Okay, sorry.
I had my thing on my highlight on the wrong thing, but yeah.
No. Okay, so student activities, JH, is to align with Senate Bill 114. What this is doing, it's just changing our JH to align. We currently have JH, or it's a revision to JH for those students that are homeschooled, virtual schooled, or go to a non-public school, allowing them to participate. They can already participate in the activities, but this allows them to participate in things like ceremonies that are associated with the activities. There's been a lot of consternation back and forth over things like postseason celebrations. If they're not a student, do they get to go to the postseason celebration, or are they only a part of the team during the team activity? So JH, what it says is, as long as that student is participating in everything that is required of another student. So if debate is a good example, one of the requirements is they take a debate class. So even if they're a virtual student or a homeschool student, if they go and take that debate class and fulfill all the requirements of any other debate student, they can participate in the debate ceremony at the end of the season. Where this is eventually leading, just so you guys know, are things like graduation, prom, those sorts of things is where this eventually is going. Does that make sense? And that one's eventually going to get complicated for everybody.
You
So.
say that policy is to align with current new legislation.
Yeah, so Senate Bill 114. And all they did with Senate Bill 114, if you guys remember a couple of years back, they opened up allowing homeschool kids to participate in activities in their boundaries. It's started to clean up some of how that's all operating. We did mid-year relations. KGB concealed observations. So this goes back to KBC that we talked about before with live streaming. Again, it basically says that any meeting, if there is a meeting that the board requests, that board meeting, if it's live streamed, again, it's open to Quora, Como, all those other things that any other meeting would be open to. KM, visitors to school. This has to do with Bill 2052, and this is the possession of firearms in school. And this has been a little controversial, just in the rollout of how it's going to work. But what this does is a police officer, FBI agent, those sorts of people, they do not have to disclose that they're carrying when they come into a school. They don't have to disclose that. We can't
And they don't
ask
have
that.
to identify themselves.
They don't have to identify themselves as one of those folks that are doing that. The reason for that is, and Randy can probably speak to this more eloquently than I can, but some police officers felt like they were being targeted in larger districts when they would identify themselves coming into schools.
They would make
For events.
orange bracelets.
If they were,
Like that.
if they were considered carrying, which they thought in some larger districts that would be problematic. In Garden City, people probably appreciate it. Some places don't appreciate it. K and complaints. I haven't skipped any others. K and complaints, the only thing that changes, this is just a slight change, in a complaint made against a superintendent. When a complaint is currently made against a superintendent, the current verbiage says the board shall investigate. This changes it from shall to may. And the reason being is because oftentimes there are superintendents that have complaints made against them. You guys as the board get with legal counsel and review the complaint, and there's not much there to the complaint other than somebody being disgruntled. So this allows you guys as board members not to have to go through a full investigation anytime a complaint against the superintendent. All right,
On the BBC, question,
BBC. Yep.
subcommittee or a subordinate group,
Yeah.
it cannot exist any longer than 1 year. We're talking a calendar year.
Yeah. When you got, the discussion we had last year is when we formed that subcommittee for the boundary study, and then that opened us up to making sure all of those open meetings and if we broadcasted, all those things were accessible through Coma and Quora and all the links. This is just a first.
Be a silly question, but when you talk about live streaming the entire meeting, are we talking about like I've been here when we have executive sessions for.
Yeah, so executive sessions are obviously excluded.
Right, but afterwards, we
Unless-
cannot adjourn the meeting, or we may take action on something.
Unless you're gonna take action after executive session, then you have to actually stream it, yeah.
Yeah, when we come back, we have to turn it back.
We wouldn't have to live stream that.
Correct.
Well,
That's-
we
that's my
probably,
understanding.
probably have to bring it back on, because we take, that's by you voting to close the meeting, we're taking action.
Well, like the county today for theirs, they just put a little flyer up that said
Yep.
executive session in progress, and that's all that they had on there till.
So when the meeting closes, we come back on, turn it on, you guys close the meeting and we. Yeah, okay.
Consider anything.
Oh, wait, sorry. All right,
Thanks, sir.
it'll be on consent at the next meeting, unless you guys have questions.
Move on to item G, board open discussions. Mark, you're up.
No much to say tonight, but I do want to, give my thanks and appreciation to the administrative team for what y'all are doing in preparation for the upcoming school year. It's gonna be here for you know, I was reading on Facebook, enrollment starts tomorrow. Yeah, it's like, wow, we're already there. Be here before you know it. So, again, thank you for what you're all doing and everybody else behind the scenes that's sitting here tonight doing what they're doing to get ready for it.
Looking forward to the new year. Things are coming together. Seen some of the buildings getting their final touches and fix-ups, and appreciate all the hard workers that are making that happen and everything come together to do that. I've seen a few awards that have come out since the end of the school year, so congratulate all those students who have worked hard and represented the school system well. And that's all I've got.
John's not here. Jackie?
Welcome, Mr. Murphy, here, first of many meetings.
Yeah.
And just kind of what Mark and Nathan already said. Thank you to everybody that's all their administration getting into new school year.
Andy?
Just want to say thank you to Randy and to you, Mark, to Randy for being willing to continue to serve as our board president. You've done a great job this last year, and I'm looking forward to having you continue in that role. And Mark, thank you for willing to serve as board vice president.
I agree. Thank you. I really appreciate everybody's support and willingness to let me fill this role and I enjoy it and I appreciate it. Thank you very much. And again, thank you for stepping up and thank you for everything that you did too. I know how hard you worked, so appreciate it. Also give a shout out. I've had some compliments on the new high school football coach. I've had some people reach out to me and their students are middle school students and were thoroughly impressed with, I guess, the camp he did with the middle school and that, the coaches and that. So hopefully we're getting off to the right start. I think we are getting off to a good start, so. And then I agree with what everybody said already about everybody's hard work and it'll be here before you know it. It's like Groundhog Day again, you know, so.
Yeah, I agree with what everyone said. Thanks to the staff, for sharing their vacation summers with the hardest couple of months that you guys have to deal with before the nitty gritty of school gets here. All I got.
Yeah, I want to thank Andy for your time as vice president. You did a great job. And Mark, welcome. I'm excited for you to take on this new role and Randy, I appreciate you taking that leadership role again for us for the next year. Just like y'all said, school summer's about over. Our principals are back to work next week. So Monday, principals all return to work. We'll have new principal training on Monday and Tuesday and admin retreat on Wednesday and Thursday. And so there'll be a lot of training for our principals, getting them ready to go for the upcoming year. Letters training is going to be, we're going to have 4 people that are going to be trained to be letters facilitators for our district. And so that training is happening next week too. So I'm excited about that, to have experts in the district that are going to be able to continue that training and keep the direction of what we're doing with our literacy initiative. So that's exciting for us as well. So while everybody else is home resting, this is the busy time for us. And so we really started cranking it out. I think Steve and his crew and in the instruction office have got a really good plan for the admin retreat for next week. And so I'm excited to get everybody back and see everybody and get started.
Okay, item H, the next board meeting. The next meeting of the Board of Education take place on Thursday, July 24th at 5 p.m. in the board meeting room at the Educational Support Center here at 1205 Fleming Street.
Randy, I forgot to put in there it's not a special meeting, but the board retreat on Tuesday, the 22nd. I probably should have put that in there as well.
Okay. What time? Fire.
We did 27.
Okay. All right. Item I. executive session.
Mr. President, I move we go into executive session for 15 minutes to discuss a matter with an attorney pursuant to the exception for matters which would be deemed privileged in the attorney-client relationship under COMA, beginning at 7, we okay with 7:10? 7:10,
So let's do 7:15.
7:15, and the open meeting will resume in the board meeting room at 7:30 PM. We'd like to invite Josh Guyman, Drew Ton, Brandon Anderson, and Jennifer Cunningham to join us in executive session.
Second.
Moved and seconded, we move to executive session. Is there any further discussion? All in favor, raise your hand. Opposed, same, motion carries.